Yo, what's going on? Constellation Gaming here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the list that honestly I have been the most scared of going into Firestorm, and that is Majesea Turbo. To start out our list, we've got 3 copies of Foamy. Foamy's extremely strong, just allowing us to essentially go into whatever water Celestial we want, and also acting as a really good wall, because you can easily just go into multiple Foamies in a turn, depending on how many Celestials they have, and then when they attack with the final Celestial, go into the actual desired Celestial that you want to go into. So Foamy can act as a really good wall, plus also it's just a really good searcher to allow us to search for anything in our deck. Well, almost anything. We've got 3 copies of Base Set Galaxy because it's just extremely strong in an all-out water deck that has a lot of defense position Celestials that you can just, or high statted defense Celestials that you can easily just swap their stat lines and then abuse the fact that they have a high defense. We're also playing 3 copies of Firestorm Galaxy for the same exact reason. Not only does it pair well with our Celestials, it's also going to go really well against our opponent's Celestials, because any high attack Celestial they have in attack position is just going to have their stats swapped. Also, stuff like Astro Rabbit, it can easily out, and anything like that. Next, we've got 2 copies of Moose Station. This is just a 6 defense that we can easily just utilize either of our Galaxies to turn it into a 6 attacker, or even its own ability to turn it into a 6 attacker. One thing to note is that with all the swapping, you do really have to keep track of whether or not you want to be swapping Moose Station or not, because if you have Base Set Galaxy out plus Moose Station, you don't want to swap it, but then if you play another, like if you play Firestorm Galaxy or another second Galaxy, then you do want to swap it. So there's just a lot of swapping that you have to keep track of how many times and where it would end up as with this deck. Then we've got 2 copies of Sluggle, Champion of Poseidon. This is one of the new cards from Firestorm. It says when you receive 1 or more Water Spirit from Poseidon's effect, you can special ascend this into Globby from your hand or deck. Now, since it doesn't say Champion of Poseidon Globby, we're going to be utilizing the one that's a lot better for our strategy, which is just Base Set Globby. Because if you utilize Sluggle Champion of Poseidon, use Poseidon Nexus to it, this will give, and then ascend into Globby, this will give Globby the 3 spirits that it needs to utilize its ability to go into Majesea Champion of Poseidon. This is the big bad of the deck. This is our endgame. This is what we want to accomplish, is getting him on board and keeping him in a position that makes it so our opponents is just always screwed. It's a 6/4/3 drop that says while Poseidon is enchanted and it's in attack position, spirits enchanting water Celestials are just water. So it doesn't matter what your Celestial is or what its ability is, it's now just a water Celestial that can possibly be swapped by by playing Base Set Galaxy. So that's a good combination right there. Plus also the Champion of Poseidon Galaxy plus or Champion of Poseidon Majesea plus Galaxy makes it to where it's just a 14 quote-unquote attacker. So that's also just really strong. Then the second portion of its ability says you can return up to 2 spirits from your underworld to your spirit deck if this Majesea is in defense position. This is just really strong, just due to the fact that you can just have a 14 body that heals for 2 every turn unconditionally. I think you still have to have Poseidon's effect out, or Poseidon out, but I might be incorrect there. That is something to look up, whether or not you need Poseidon's effect while it's in defense position. I have not figured that one out personally yet. Then you've got 3 copies of Pelaquarius to finish off the deck. This is just to search out any of our 1-drops that we might want. So essentially, with our 3 copies of Pelaquarius, our 3 copies of Foamy, and our 2 copies of Sluggle Champion of Poseidon, we have 8 different possible copies, quote-unquote, of Sluggle Champion of Poseidon, so we can very easily and consistently get into our Majesea as long as we find our Poseidon. Now, if you'll notice, we don't have a Divine Searcher, and that's because Water doesn't have a good one, and I'll be honest, I think Plucky's kind of booty, and I really don't want to play a Divine Searcher just to find Poseidon, because with the exception of this combo, it doesn't really do too much. That's just why we're not playing a Plucky. We've got one copy of Earthquake. This is just to remove anything that's threatening. 2 copies of Poseidon's Fury. This might honestly be going down to 1 since I don't have a consistent Divine Searcher, but I think this is still an extremely impactful card if you do have Poseidon out, just to be able to kind of pseudo board wipe your opponent. As long as you have spirits equal to their spirit count on board, you can essentially just for 1 and then disenchanting your Poseidon, board wipe them. So I think it has a lot of potential, but the fact that I'm not going to be consistently finding Poseidon all of the time might make it to where Poseidon's Fury is a little less playable. We've got 2 copies of Tsunami. This is here just because Tsunami is extremely strong. Unless you have Majesea in attack position, then Tsunami doesn't work. That is one thing that you do really have to keep in mind, is the fact that Majesea will turn off your Tsunami because it just makes everything water enchanted. So that means Tsunami's just nothing at that point. But Tsunami is still extremely strong when Majesea's not specifically in attack position, so I'm running 2 copies of it. 2 copies of Poseidon for our Sluggle and our Poseidon's Fury. And then we've got 2 copies of Atlantis, because just a Majesea in attack position with Atlantis out is a 917. And I don't know much in the game that's outing a 917. Like, not even Pentair can out this thing if it's in defense position. So if you just sit there with it in defense position, they just kind of have to hope for an Earthquake if you have Atlantis. And that's an extremely bad spot for them to be in. Then we've got 3 copies of Ambrosia, because healing's really strong. 1 copy of Resting on Your Laurels. Even though it seems like we're going to have a lot of spirits on board, we're really not going to until the moment where we flood out our Majesea. So with a lot of the heavy combo and quick decks that are going on, playing 1 copy of Resting on Your Laurels I think is going to be pretty good for us, especially if they're playing like a single big guy deck where they just utilize a combination of cards to get 1 big guy out and not as a 1-drop right beside it. So I think Resting on Your Laurels will be a pretty good card. Plus, Like a Void is always going to be activating Laurels, so you can always just, even if it's just outing a smaller Werepup, you can still utilize it for that purpose. Then you've got 3 copies of Poison Tipped Arrow, just because removal's extremely strong. That's pretty much it. Just, there's going to be a lot of big guys in the format, so you just want to have as much removal as physically possible, which is why I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 removal cards. And Shield is kind of a removal card if you counted when bouncing it back to hand. So if you count the Shield, 10. So that's a pretty decent amount of removal. 3 copies of the Shield that I just mentioned, just to bounce anything back to hand, especially the bigger threats to us, because we're only playing our 1 big guy and that's it. Sometimes when they drop their big guy, if we don't have a Shield, it can just be game over. We might not have a way to very quickly and efficiently come back from it. 3 copies of Gorgon's Gaze. It's the best counter rune in the entire game. Not much else to say about that. Stops literally everything. 2 copies of Hurricane. This is if we notice they're just not playing around Hurricane, and we often want to just board wipe their back row anyways to guarantee that our Majesea lands and that we can utilize it well. So just blowing out a back row, especially if they're not playing around Hurricane, in order to get out Majesea can be a really good play. But I couldn't really find room in the main deck for it. Honestly, if there's anything, I would probably just put 1 Hurricane in the main board for a Poseidon's Fury and then free up that 1 slot for something else, possibly. 2 copies of Alter. This is here because if we run into another water deck, the Tsunamis are useless. So since we're having 4 different Nexus Banks, plus also possible second Celestial or whatever that we can utilize Alter for, it's better than just drawing into a blank Tsunami. So that's why we're playing the 2 copies of Alter in the side deck. We've got 1 copy of Rise from the Ashes because just out of nowhere, rising your Majesea Champion of Poseidon can be really impactful. It can just swing the game. Even if you're spending 6 spirits, like, who cares if you're just putting your Majesea in defense position anyways and recouping 2 of those? That's 4 spirits. Next turn, if it's still in defense position, you've spent 2 spirits. So it's just, the longer this will stick on board, the less detrimental that Rise play becomes anyways. Then, we've got some very interesting sideboard tech here with 1 copy of Trident of Poseidon. Now, we're playing this because we're playing Poseidon, and counter runes are extremely impactful. So 1, if we side it and then we draw into it, we can easily just make it to where they just can't activate counter runes, and we just auto win combat all of the time. Plus, we can also utilize it with our 2 copies of Argo that we also have in the sideboard, to just make it to where they can't respond to the Trident of Poseidon, or the attack that they might want to. Because if you Argo flip it, say they, like, try to shield something, you Argo flip it, play Trident of Poseidon, and then I believe that should fizzle it out. Can't cast it, it might not. But, anyways, flipping it Argo with Trident will just make it to where they just can't respond properly, and also even if they're just attacking into you, the +2 buff can be very useful. Plus it's just another, like, Nexus Bank you could utilize with Alter if you really need to. We've got 1 copy of Equal Links because back row is extremely strong. We had plenty of room in our Spirit deck to be able to very efficiently be able to fit in our 1 copy of Equal Links. So just, we're going to do it as long as we can, and since we're already playing the Argo package, we'll just have a bunch of Nexus Bank. Plus, if we need to, we can also misenchant one of these to go with our Equal Links. We've got 1 copy of Scythe to go with our Equal Links and our Argo. Also, the one thing to note is that Scythe works really well with base set Galaxy when it's on board, because it will just make it to where it's an 8/5, and that's extremely hard to out. Plus, if base set Galaxy is on board and, like, they attack into Moose Station or something like that, it can make Moose Station a 9/3, which is also just nuts. So, Scythe has more purpose than just being with Equal Links, but we're mainly going to sight it in when we do the Equal Links. And then the last few cards in our side deck is kind of a little heal stall package. We've got 2 copies of Sluggle. Just, we play it, we heal 3, it's Ambrosia on a body, it's extremely strong. 2 copies of Dratagua. This says whenever it receives a Water Spirit, you can heal 2 waters from your Spirit deck. Since we're playing the Poseidon, we might as well utilize the Dratagua for that factor too, because we can heal up to 4 spirits that turn. And then we're playing 1 copy of Lakagon as a very interesting tech. And the reason why we're playing this 1 copy is because Majesea can heal every single turn. So Lakagon, if you literally just sit there on Lakagon Majesea, you can just wipe their entire board and not even do a single thing. You can just wipe their board for healing. And that's it. Plus, with the heal package that we've already got, we have, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different cards that can activate Lakagon's effect in order to pop. And 2 or 3 of them can do it on a consistent basis whenever they receive. So Lakagon in the sideboard can be an extremely impactful option for this deck, I believe. Now on to the sideboard. We've got 2 copies of Lycoris here. This is for our Peliquarius. We've got 4 Terratlas, This is for our Equalink package and our Earthquake here. We've got one Zaptor for our Hurricanes. Oh, I had a Dense Fog in the sideboard, one moment. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 Water Spirits for the rest of our deck, because it is mainly just water, so we don't need much more of else. And that's the entirety of Majesea Turbo. So what do you guys think of the deck? Is this something that you guys would play? Let me know down in the comments below, and let me know if there's anything that you're interested in seeing built for Firestorm. I hope you all have a good day, and peace.